So to start, we're going to form a cross with our 2 long branches. And this is not an exact cross because you want it to be a little bit taller than wide, so don't make it a perfect cross, make it a cross that's a little bit more like an X, like the letter X. Cut off a length of twine. I probably cut off way too much here, but I probably cut off about 3 or 4 feet here. I just want to make sure I had enough. You can't go wrong with too much. And we're going to start by passing it around the cross, the meeting section of the cross right here. And we're going to wrap our free end around the loop multiple times. So I think I probably crossed it about 5 or 6 times there. And then go ahead and pull that tight. All right, and now, and you want that tight against the cross, we're just gonna wrap our free end, our long free end of this twine around the meeting point, probably about 4 times. Possibly, I think I will go a few more than 4 times because my twine is fairly thin. If you were doing this with a thicker rope, you could do it fewer times. Because I'm doing it with a thin twine, I'm going to go ahead and just go around the cross quite a few times. All right, so that feels like enough times. Let's go ahead. We're now going to change direction. You're just going to do that by running under just one. And so now we're going to wrap this direction. And at this point, you still have the opportunity to kind of change the angle of your cross, whether you want it more upright in a Z shape or more square in a sort of a cross shape. Just remember that how upright you make your cross is going to affect the length of your warp, or sorry, the length of your loom, which will affect the length of your warp. And this is just a simple scouting knot lashing. It's more of a lashing. And you can look up just a diagonal lashing if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial on this. Okay, so now that I've gone around, first I went around both sticks this way, both sticks this way. Now what I'm going to do is I've come and I'm going to wrap in between the 2 sticks so that I'm tightening up on my lashing. So if you can see that there, I'm going right through here. And that's probably enough times. And you can end with whatever kind of knot or hitch. I think I'm going to make a clove hitch if I can remember how to do that. More like a double overhand knot or something there. Okay, so this is the middle. Okay, so now that we have our middle lashing finished, we're gonna just scoot this down so we can see one end of our cross that we're going to now lash a short branch to. And this is the point at which you're going to want to decide how long you want your loom, and so how steep of an angle you want on your cross here, how much more of like an X you want it to be. And you can pull out your tape measure and make sure you get it whatever particular length you want. I'm making mine pretty big. And we're just going to do the same kind of lashing on here that we did in the middle. Let's get a little bit closer here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better on these lashings. This is just another corner lashing where I am attaching one of the short branches to one of the long branches. So with about 40 or 50 inches of yarn of thread, I'm just going to start at one end, and I'm going to take that short piece right there and go through this loop multiple times. And pull that tight. These lashings are a little bit harder because this is really not a diagonal connection here. Some angle at I don't really know what, but it just means you're going to have to kind of wiggle your thread through there a little bit tighter. So we're just going to wrap this around, just like we did in the middle, several times. Making sure that it is pretty tight. Tight, I think, is going to make more of a difference than how many times you go around. So if you go around a whole bunch of loose times, that's not going to be as helpful as going around fewer tighter times. So just as you go around, stop and just tug on your twine from time to time to make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, so that's probably enough times. We'll go a couple more. Okay, so I'm actually not sure I can turn this in the right angle. Let's see if I can. Okay, there we go. If I can hold this upright and do this at the same time, you'll be able to see. So what I want is I want the thread to go around all of these lashings. And then as we pull that tight, that's going to tighten our lashings down on our branches. So after every time I go around, I pull my thread tight again. Okay, and then I'm just going to tie it off. The very, very small end that I have. Okay. All right, so that is another of my lashings, and that's really pretty firm. If you find it's not firm enough, I would suggest lashing around that middle a couple more times, really nice and tight.